Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hind Makki. I am really interested in presenting to you, or having somebody from CAIR come and present to you about what our rights are as people who originate from one of the 7 banned countries from the executive order from President Trump. And because everything has been in flux so much, there's so many changes that are happening every single day, people who are coming in, flying in from abroad right now, have been encountering lots and lots of problems, even those who have valid green cards or valid work visas, student visas. And so Sedania Bizani, who works at CAIR Chicago, the Council on American Islamic Relations in Chicago, is going to be presenting us with a presentation on knowing your rights as residents of the United States when you travel, as well as how you interact with police and other law enforcement. And then there will be some time for question and answer. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Sedania. If you have any pass-outs, I'll
then feel free to keep anything.
for the video, right? For the video. أعيد الكلام? No, I don't want to take it. Go ahead.
Alright, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Hi, thank you so much, Ann, for that introduction. Like she said, my name is Sedania, and I work at Council on American Islamic Relations, Chicago. I started out as an intern there and then did the Muslim Youth Leadership Symposium, and now I work in operations. And if you didn't know about CAIR, I'm going to tell you a little bit about CAIR. And if at any point you have any questions or you need to slow down, please feel free to ask me. So who we are. CAIR Chicago is a civil rights organization. It's the largest Muslim civil rights organization in the nation. We have 33 offices across the nation, and our national one is located in DC. The purpose of CAIR is to enhance understanding of Islam. We want to build coalition, we want to protect your civil liberties, and we want to change the stereotypes that pigs the Muslim community today. Higher? Okay. And we overall want to promote justice and mutual understanding between all the different communities in the nation. So why are we here today? So how does the executive order affect Muslims, especially those from the 7 countries that are banned? Also, we're going to cover how to properly respond when engaging with travel agents, what your rights are when you enter airport and security, and then if you're being detained or questioned, what can you say, what don't you say, what can they ask you when they cannot ask you. And then lastly, we're going to briefly cover actions that you can take if you're approached by a law enforcement, so FBI. So the executive order, this was signed last week, as we all remember, and citizens of 7 designated countries have been banned their entry into the country, and these countries are Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Somalia, and Sudan, and Yemen. So even if you're a valid visa holder, your entry has been banned for 90 days as of now. So we are not sure what's going to happen after those 90 days are up, but for now, that's what we know. And the other thing that this executive order ensures is an interrogation process that's going to be intensive. It's going to be long, and we don't know what kind of questions they're going to ask you, but we have an idea. And then this is what they call the extreme vetting process. It's always been in place, but now it's more targeted. And then the next thing is refugee admission has been changed to only allow 50,000 in 2017. And Syrians, for now, and refugee in general, it has been suspended. Syrians, 120 days. Any questions regarding the executive order? If you have any questions, feel free to ask at any point.
سؤالك التفاصيل القانون تبع القانون تفاصيل شو It was about immigration. He was asking, if they when they break it down to single laws, there will be one. So it will affect a green card holder. It will affect the
Oh yeah,
citizenship,
I'm going
it
to
will
talk about
affect-
that. I'm going to cover each citizen type and how it affects you actually. So yeah. So for status types, there's 5 that I'm going to talk about. So there's citizens of the United States. These are native-born or naturalized immigrants. Naturalized being you've gone through the process of the citizenship tests, and or you are a minor when your parents became citizens and now you are automatically a citizen. And then we have the non-immigrant visa holders. These are valid visa holders we were talking about, and these are student visa, tourist visa, work visa. Next is our lawful permanent residents. These are the green card holders. You have the right to live permanently in the U.S. You can work legally in the U.S. You can't vote, and you don't want to do any criminal activity that could get you deported back to the country that you came from. And then the next little trick is the dual citizenship. That means if you're a citizen of 2 different countries, that could be the U.S. and one of the banned countries, or the U.S. and another country. And then last is a refugee. That's a person who's fleeing from their home country because of a war or persecution or fear. That's asylum seekers. And then a natural disaster is the last one. So now we're going to cover each one by one. If you have any questions at any point and it applies to you or your family member, feel free to stop me and ask. So if you're a citizen of the United States, again, that's you're a natural born, you were born here, or you took the exam. So first and foremost, we have overwhelming evidence that they stop Muslim Americans and ask a lot of questions and interrogate them as long as they want, exhaustive questions. And you can't be denied entry. That's the first thing that you need to know is as a citizen, you can't be denied entry. But you can be interrogated as long as they want. There's a lot of questions that they can ask you, but they're broken down into what your identity is and what your visit was about. So they can ask you questions like, where did you go? Who were you there to see? What did you do? And how long did you stay? And then they can ask you your name, your address, your birth date, and any of those questions that are just identifiers, bios. They can ask you those questions. What was the purpose of your trip is another one. So what do you think are questions that they cannot ask you?
Your opinion about Sharia?
Exactly, yes. So they can't ask you any religious questions. Your religious affiliation does not matter. And then political views does not matter. They shouldn't ask you. They don't have to ask you. You don't have to answer. And then questions like about a particular individual that you know. They can't ask you those questions. So you can refuse these questions. We're still talking about U.S. citizens right now. So you can refuse to answer these questions by stating, I'm not comfortable answering these questions about my religious or political beliefs or about who I know. Now, if they keep insisting that you answer those questions, then you have the opportunity and the option to say, I want to speak to my attorney. And that's you exercising your Fifth Amendment rights. So now, answering these questions, there's protocols that you should follow at any point. That's do not lie. Do not lie about answering those questions. They're going to be simple questions anyway. Do not volunteer any additional information besides the questions that they ask you. And do always mention if you're carrying food or anything as a party individually. Just mention what it is. They have guidelines about what it is that they need to be notified of. So just know what those things are, and if you have them, tell them that you have them. If you have money that's over $10,000, you have to declare it at the border. And it's recommended, though, that you guys do not carry any amount that's high. So less cash, the better. So any questions about that as a U.S. citizen?
My family happened to be in Sudan, and they come in the months. Can they? If there's an age limitation, so I have my kids are minor. Can they ask them?
Well, Sudan is one of the banned countries, so for the 90 days, they won't be allowed entry as...
No, they are citizens.
They are citizens, I apologize.
Citizens.
They're U.S. citizens.
But I want to know if they
yeah,
can
there are instances where they can do that, but not generally.
no, from the legal point of view, can they ask a minor
questions,
Yeah.
not without an attorney.
So when they come in, if they try to ask them,
Mhm.
can they say, we need a lawyer? Because I know they could talk to their mom, which is okay,
Mhm.
but are they allowed under the law to ask the kids as well?
The thing is, it's uncertain just because they will try to coerce and use fear in order to do that, but they don't. You can have a lawyer, regardless. Even if you are not a minor, you can have a lawyer in order to have these conversations. So if you don't want to do it without a lawyer, then you don't have to. Yeah. And then, any other questions regarding U.S. citizen? No. Okay. And then. Searches, airport searches, I don't know if you guys have flown, but they're permitted to search your belongings. Again, don't volunteer any information that they're asking you. If they're searching your bags, do pay attention to what they're doing, if they're trying to confiscate anything, and if they do try to confiscate anything, try to get the name of the person that's doing the search, so then later on you can report it, and also ask for a receipt of what it is that they're taking out of your bag, so that you have proof. So just pay attention, and then they cannot, if you're a woman and you're wearing a hijab, they cannot tell you to take it off. If they want to, they would have to take you to a private room, and it can be the same gender. You can tell them that you can't do it religiously, and they should listen to you. So now, if you're a non-immigrant visa holder, things change a little bit. So you're either on a work visa, student visa, or tourist visa. They can interrogate you, will interrogate you, and they can deny you entry. If they find any reasonable cause, they can deny you entry. For the 7 countries, we know you're going to be denied entry. For anyone not from those countries, they can still send you back, they can cancel your visa, or if you don't want to answer any questions, because the Fifth Amendment right still applies to you, even if you're not a citizen, but if you say that you don't want to, you have to take caution just because you don't know how that can be taken. They have a little bit more leeway in that way, so you need to kind of assess the situation. And also, we definitely recommend you talk to an immigration lawyer before you take any of these trips. So if you're a Muslim, even if you're a citizen, we still recommend that you talk to an immigration lawyer. I think that's the best way to go about it, because you're getting
Do you have
legal
a
help.
recommended list of lawyers that are available?
Yeah. On the handout, there's different organizations, and also if you reach out to CAIR Chicago, which I have the number on there, we have a bunch of immigration lawyer numbers, and also there's a website that I'm going to tell you about that will help you later on, and I'll tell you about that. Oh, sorry, hold on. Okay, so in terms of questions they can ask you, same game. They can ask you identity questions. They can ask you what your trip was about, purpose of your trip. They cannot ask you, again, religious affiliation, political beliefs, about a person, etc. And then, again, you don't have to answer these questions, but no, it can be used against you, so use best caution. Again, I recommend you talk to an immigration lawyer, because each case is different, so you need to be prepared. So if you're inside the U.S. and you're trying to leave, we are recommending that you don't leave unless your visa is expiring. And if your visa is set to expire now that the ban has been put in place, you can't meet its conditions, or you can meet its conditions, consult an immigration attorney to explore options. I know that the idea of actually reaching out when your visa has expired can be scary, but it's even worse if you do not apply after it expires, because then ICE, which is Immigration and Customs, has full authority to do what they want if it seems like you're not going with the law. So, but yeah, again, we also in general advise you not to leave the country unless you absolutely have to. And outside the U.S. and you're coming back, or you have a family member that's coming back from another country, you will not be admitted if you're from the 7 countries, and within those 90 days. Again, we don't know what's going to happen after the 90 days. You may be questioned extensively at the border, most likely will be, and you could be denied admission. And then also for the people that are trying to come here from the 7 countries, you know you will be denied, but they can still extensively question you. So even if they're abroad, have them talk to a lawyer in their city or their country, so then they can figure out how to best approach the situation. Any questions about non-immigrant visa holder and their rights? No? Okay. And then green card holders is next. So green card holders, you have the right to live permanently and work permanently in this country, provided that you didn't do anything criminal work or et cetera that they find to be breaking the law. So questions they can ask you, same thing. Questions they cannot ask you, they can't ask you questions about religious affiliation, political beliefs, anything that makes you uncomfortable and you know is going deeper than your identity. They can't ask you those questions. Now, there was a little confusion about green card holders at the beginning because at first it was included and then it wasn't. Right now, we know that green card holders are exempt. They are not going to be kicked out. Even if you're from the 7 banned countries, you can still come. But again, in terms of interrogation, extensive questioning, it applies to everybody. So one of the important parts that we've heard about, I don't know if you've heard about this, is the I-407 form. So the I-407 form is something that we've heard they've been trying to have green card holders sign or trick them into signing. And these forms are basically rescinding your permanent residency. So you're willingly giving up your right to live in this country. So they're having you sign those forms without knowing or knowing whatever, or through fear. So what we suggest is do not sign anything unless an attorney is present. Do not trust them, do not sign anything, period. And then if you're here on a B1 visa, so if it's a work visa related type of situation, do talk to your employer if they need you to travel as a Muslim American, and also if you're just a visa holder, do explain your situation to them. Oh, and then for the non-immigrant visa, I forgot to mention, there's sponsored fiancé visas that we've heard of where if you do that, then as soon as they come here, they get a green card. So that's kind of depending, and if you have any type of fiancé situations, that's one to consider.
That is the CAIR visa?
Hmm?
CAIR visa?
I don't know the exact name.
Fiancé?
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
fiancé visa. But yeah, and then dual citizens. So we found out that CBP has stated that they will treat you with the visa that you show. This is something that has been going around. So if you're a U.S. citizen and you're from one of the banned countries, I encourage you to use your U.S. citizen card or visa. Or if you are from Canada and the U.S., you can choose which one you're going to show, and then that's how they're going to identify you. They have said that for now. There's a lot of uncertainty going on, so I would recommend always checking out to see what's the new what's the new law that applies, and always talk to an immigration lawyer. And then questions they can ask you, same, but provided which visa you choose to show will depend how much right you have and what kind of questions they ask you. So talk to an immigration lawyer and figure out how the executive order will most likely apply depending on which visa you decide to show. And then, any questions about that? No? Okay. And then next is refugees. So as you know, they've suspended anyone traveling on passport from any of these 7 countries, subject to change after the 90 days for better or for worse. Same questions, and answering these questions, if you feel uncomfortable, you don't need to answer those questions, but just know that it could maybe be used against you if you choose not to, but it could also be used against you if you choose to. So do talk to an immigration lawyer before you leave. So conclusions in terms of traveling. If you don't have to leave, then don't leave. Don't leave until things are certain. And then contact an immigration lawyer before to anyone or leaving the country. Unless a lawyer is present, do not sign anything. Give yourself a gracious amount of time before you depart. So because we're assuming that you're going to be interrogated, always assume you're going to be interrogated. If you're not, great. But if you are, go early so you have a lot of time to be interrogated so you don't miss your flight. And then avoid traveling with electronics is one thing that we've been telling people, just because they can take your phone and do search or download information. They can try to do that. So just to avoid all of that, if you don't have to travel with electronics, don't travel with electronics. And then lastly, for CAIR Chicago, we just launched a new program called TAP. So if you go to www.cairchicago.org/TAP, it's called Travelers Assistance Program. So if you have to travel, you know someone that's going to travel, go to that link and then put in the flight information of the person. All the questions will be there. You just put in the information, and then the day that they come back, we'll be aware of it. And if there's any issues that come up, lawyers will come up, immigration lawyers will be at the airport trying to handle that situation. So I highly recommend going to this website. I know it's not on the sheet here. I was hoping this would show up, but it's not. So if you need the exact website after this program, ask me and I will be more than happy to give it to you. And then also we do recommend tell family members before you leave. Tell them exactly what your flight is, where you're coming from, where you're going, if there's a layover, everything. Okay, so we're gonna just briefly cover what happens if you are approached by a law enforcement. So these are the FBI situations. So at CAIR, a lot of the times we get a lot of calls about Muslims getting, dropped, or FBI dropping by at their home, dropping FBI cars, just saying, oh, we want to speak to you, etc. So we want to show you what you can do in these situations. So first and foremost, your civil rights. Even if you're not a citizen of the U.S., civil rights still apply to you. So you have a right to be treated fairly and equally by the government, by individuals, by establishments. Okay? So the Constitution guarantees that. So the Bill of Rights. First Amendment is the first one to keep in mind. Freedom of religion, press, assembly, and if you want to petition for a government redress of grievances. So if you want to make a complaint or if you want to seek assistance from the government, you are allowed to do that. And then the government cannot generally regulate the content of speech, but they can regulate the time, the place, and manner it is delivered. Okay? So that's the First Amendment, applies to you. Fourth Amendment, it states your freedom from unreasonable search and seizure, which is what they try to do usually when they come and drop by at your house. So the government cannot intrude on your home or you or your car, a business or property. They need to have a valid search warrant if they want to do that. They need to have reasonable suspicion is the other one. So they can look at what is immediately visible, and they're not allowed to open bags or trunks or anything. So don't give up any of your rights. You are allowed to say no.
So if they come and knock at the door,
You don't have to open the door. They'll usually be like, this is FBI. You can say, who is this? They'll say FBI. You can say, oh, drop your card. We'll give you a call with an attorney. Something like that. You don't have to talk to them at all. And I'll explain a little bit about that. So first and foremost, reasons of why they approach you, or what excuses do they use when they usually approach you when you know you haven't done anything. So these excuses can range from, oh, we're doing outreach to the Muslim community, or just routine questions that we're doing, or they need your help with trying to figure something out, or your name came up during an investigation, which should be just alarming, and you're not in any trouble. You're in trouble. Assume you are. Don't open the door. So things to remember, when they do come, you are required to give information like your name, date of birth, and address. So identifying questions, it's free game. You can answer them, they can ask them.
From within the apartment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you don't need to answer any questions about citizenship or why you are in the USA, what are you studying. Only ICE can ask those questions, that's Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement, about your citizen status. And they'll tell you who they are. Oops, sorry. They'll tell you who they are when they come. They're not going to lie.
Can this approach happen in the street or just in the...
Yeah, it can happen in the streets. It can happen, it's happened in public. Also, you have the same rights when it comes to that. It can happen when you're in your car. So it can happen essentially anywhere. So, yeah. So if you're approached, some things to remember is do not lie or provide false information about your identity. There's no reason to. They know who you are. Because if they find that you're lying, this can result in perjury results in court. Do not permit them to enter your home, office, or search your property. without a warrant. That can be your purse, your wallet, anything. And if they have a warrant, do ask to see it. Sometimes they could be making it up. Do ask to see it and make sure it's signed by a judge. Okay? It's important that it's signed by a judge. And you should have a lawyer present when speaking to law enforcement or answering any questions. So just say, I want to speak to an attorney. And then an important part is documenting the interaction as best as you can. So get the name, you can get the name, the badge number, the agency, or telephone number of any agent. Now, that might be a little tricky in terms of de-escalating the situation, but you have the right to ask all those questions as well. So take caution when you do that. Aside from that, important phrases to memorize, and I can have this, oops, sorry. Important phrases to memorize is, I have the right to remain silent. I wish to speak to my lawyer. I do not consent to a search. And verbally saying these things is very important. And because they can say, oh, they didn't say this, but you can say, I clearly said all of these things. And then you can say, please leave your business card at the door, and I'll give you a call with my lawyer. Those are things that you can say. Okay. So, your rights, FBI visits. So here's a scenario. You're approached at your home by FBI agents. They're doing a routine search, and you have nothing to worry about, they say. So what do you say?
Leave your card and return back with my attorney.
Exactly.
The easier answer,
exactly.
Right?
Yep. And they can say like, oh, can we meet down in a coffee shop or anything like that? And you can just say, no, do not open the door. Ask them to leave a business card, and then contact us. And you usually do a lot of those where they call, FBI called us, or came by, dropped their card, what should we do? And then we've had our lawyer either, talk to the FBI. He can contact them. You don't even have to contact them. Our lawyer can contact them, talk to them, and see, kind of be the point of contact and message, and tell you what it is that they're looking for and why they dropped by. So those are things to consider. Do keep us in mind. We are here to help.
But if they ask, if they ask about your ID or your legal, documents in this country,
No, they can't. ICE is the only one in terms of citizenship that can ask you. That's Immigration and
should
Customs.
ask?
Immigration and Customs.
Oh.
They'll tell you. They'll be like, this is ICE.
Okay.
Yeah. But FBI cannot ask you about your status.
So you have to open for ICE?
When it comes to ICE, I'm not entirely sure, and I want to give you the accurate answer on that. So talk to me later, and I will get back to you with the answer after I speak to my colleagues, okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Another question.
Of course.
Is there at any point those FBI can and you should open the door for?
Unless it's a case that you called them and they want to investigate that, or, yeah, no. No.
You are in trouble. No.
Any other questions?
No.
Do I should have, like, do I should have like my citizenship card with me, or my passport with me, or
At home?
No, at home, or if I'm traveling, or if I'm
Traveling abroad, of course,
traveling abroad,
definitely.
yeah, you should travel with your
Mhm.
passport.
But other than
except
that, something to identify yourself with, yes,
just a
definitely.
driving license.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
should
have
be
to show
more
them
than enough.
a
Mhm.
green card, I don't have to show them citizenship card or something.
Not at all, no, absolutely not. Any other questions? Okay, all right. And then lastly, just reporting hate crimes. So if you're attacked on the streets, or someone you know is attacked on the streets, make sure to get any witness statements as you can. So it's best to document these experiences as soon as they happen, so you don't forget or anything, or anything is mixed up in your head. It's better to be as accurate as possible. Hold on one second. The Wi-Fi thing is coming up. And then if you can get photographs, medical records of treatments if you got hurt, very important. And then write down everything that happened immediately after it took place. And then report to local police and CAIR Chicago. It's Council on American and Islamic Relations, and we can help you out with that. So the Know Your Rights for law enforcement approaching you is actually a lot longer, but I knew that I wouldn't have time for that. So I just kind of made it as short as I possibly can. So in terms of information about that and you want more, do please ask me afterwards and I can get that to you by the end of today. So.
Do you have any handout we could leave here? We're going to have about 70, 80 people coming for the prayer. There's a handout. If you have a copy, you could print.
Yeah, I can send everything to you if you guys can print it here. Do you guys
Yes.
have a printer here?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So then I can send it to you if you want to print that. That's an important one to pass around. Again, all of these traveler bans are very subject to change. So the 7 countries are not, but aside from that, certain ways they apply to you and everything. First, it depends per person. The situation is case by case. And then for the other side, it could change at any point. We don't know because green card holders were first not exempt, now they're exempt. So it's kind of situational, so please stay updated.
Fiancé or a wife is already exempt or still?
What do you
Because we
mean?
have, I mean, if somebody bringing his wife was the first time.
It depends. It depends if they have the sponsored visas or not. So
No,
those
for the
are.
husband. Husband is US citizen.
Oh, okay.
We have a story, somebody being, his wife returned, they returned her back.
Oh, yeah, but she's probably a visa holder, right? At that point? Even if he's citizen, it's still, especially because they're so much more strict now, they have a lot more free reign to do and apply what they want. And right now, it's very clear that refugees or any type of immigrants are unwelcome. And so they're going to make it as hard as possible. And if you're a visa holder, it's just a lot harder for you and they can deny anyone entry. But if you're from those 7 countries, you're denied entry. But if you're not from those 7 countries, but majority Muslim, then it depends. We've even had a lot of cases where even if you're not Muslim, you have been denied entry.
No, our concern, is about Sudanese.
Oh,
So
Sudanese,
we are
yeah,
already-
you're banned, yeah. That's banned, yeah. That's gonna be a problem, unless you're a citizen. But she's a visa holder, so that's different. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I heard an attorney through YouTube, his recommendation to the green card holders here in the state before they are not citizenship yet, to be very, very careful. Maybe they send you a home bag, they send you back home for any reason. Is that correct?
They can, so you're a permanent resident, but you don't have all the full rights of a citizen. And they have more rights over you, and if they think that, or if they want to say that you have some criminal record or you're a threat to the country, they could potentially deport you. Yeah. Green card holders get deported even before this ban for doing something unlawful. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Otherwise, no really.
Otherwise, you should be fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we recommend if you're from the 7 countries, don't travel. Don't travel. So. Yeah. Any other questions? And since you guys are recording, our phone number is 312-212-1520. If you have any questions, please feel free to call and ask. It doesn't cost anything. We're here to help you out. And the tap is www.cairchicago.org/TAP. TAP. Yes.
I know you were working on Arabic language
Yes,
information. Do you know
there-
when that will be out?
It should be done by next week. I'll check with the communications coordinator, and once that's done, we'll be more than happy to send it to you, to anybody who needs it, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will leave you our center email, and you could send us all things that you have.
Absolutely. Definitely. But yeah, just take caution, be careful, I wish you all the best. Yeah, I wish all of us the best.
So I want to thank Sidania again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Could you repeat your name again?
Sidania Bazani.
Sidania Bazani.
Yeah.
Cair Chicago.
Ethiopian American, right?
Hmm?
Ethiopian American?
Ethiopian American.
Ethiopian American.
Yeah, our sister.
Yes.
So I want to thank you again, and we will share this information with our Sudanese and other people who are affected by the ban. I think it's going to be on the Facebook page and other places, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah.
Yes, and we'll probably, as the situation changes, we'll probably come back to you all again. I want to thank CAIR for being such a strong support in this situation.
Anytime, that's what we're here for.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.